Yes, you read that right. I'll show you how you can learn Italian so fast that it feels like cheating. Now, have you ever spent hours trying to learn Italian only to freeze the moment someone actually speaks to you? You might know the vocab, you may have studied the grammar, but still nothing comes out? If that sounds familiar, well, you're not the problem. Most learners waste about 80% of their time learning things that they don't actually need. But what if you only focus on that top 20% of the language and you can still get fluent? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do today. I'm going to show you why traditional methods fail most learners, especially us adults. How the 80-20 method can help you go from a total beginner to a fluent Italian speaker like I did. And the first 5 steps that you should take to build that momentum fast without memorizing the whole dictionary. And by the end of this video, you'll walk away knowing how to spot hundreds of Italian words that you already know. Seriously. I'll also show you the best part that changed the game for me when I learned Italian. It's a little trick that I borrowed from Jane Austen. And once you see it, you'll never look at Italian grammar and vocabulary the same way again. I'll show you what it is in just a minute. Ciao, my name is Michelle. That's Michelle with 1 L because my dad named me after my nonno Michele. I was born in Australia, but I didn't grow up speaking Italian. In fact, I didn't learn it until I was an adult, and I made every mistake along the way. But when I finally ditched the traditional methods and followed what I now call the 80-20 method, I started making real progress fast. Now I help thousands of students just like you do the same inside my self-paced online courses that you can find over at intrepiditalian.com. But today I'm going to show you this method for free in this video. If you want to get my full guide on how to learn Italian so fast that it feels like cheating, you can download it for free just by clicking on the link below this video. It's got 30 pages and it's packed with examples, vocab hacks, memory tricks, and no fluff. You'll find that in the description below this video. Pronti? Are you ready? Iniziamo! Let's get started. Now, let's be honest. If you've ever felt like you're just not good at languages, it's not your fault. Most language resources are bloated, confusing, and try to teach you everything at once. I get it, because I was once in your shoes too. I'm not a native Italian speaker, and I didn't grow up speaking Italian, and I didn't learn it at school either. I learned it by choice as an adult, starting from zero. And along the way, I struggled with all the things that you're probably facing now. Verb tenses, prepositions, the masculine, the feminine, the nouns, the forgetting of the words, the losing the motivation, and the feeling stuck. But everything changed when I discovered the 80-20 method, a strategy that allowed me to stop wasting time, focus on what actually matters, and start feeling more confident every time I opened my mouth to speak, and also doing this in record time. Now I've built my entire Intrepid Italian course system using this exact 80-20 method or philosophy, and I'm going to show you exactly how to use it. Let's start with the 80-20 rule. What is it and why does it change everything? Well, the 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle, is simple but powerful. It states that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. In language learning, that means you don't need to learn everything. You just need to learn the right things for you right now. Now, most courses overwhelm you with every tense, every rule, every exception. But the truth is, for 80% of your conversations, you would just use the present tense or the passato prossimo and high-frequency verbs. 80% of Italian you actually need can be learned quite quickly with the right method and approach. That's why I created my Italian courses differently. Each one is structured around the 80-20 principle, so there's no fluff and there's zero wasted time, and just 100% focus on what moves that needle. And I'll walk you through how to start to apply this approach today, even if you're a complete beginner. Now, you'll start with an instant win that'll boost your confidence too. So let's start with Italian Cognates. Now, here are some instant wins. Now, Italian Cognates are a shortcut to build beginner confidence. Here's the secret that most beginners don't realize. You already know hundreds of Italian words. Now, these are called cognates, and these are words that look and sound similar in English and Italian, usually because they share Latin roots. Now, when you know how to recognize them, you can quickly grow your vocabulary and start playing with the language even before you know any grammar. So here are a few examples. Rule number 1. English nouns ending in Y become IA in Italian. Now, if you don't know what a noun is, it's anything you can place the word the in front of. So the building or the trees or the piazza. So with that in mind, the word biology in Italian becomes la biologia. Philosophy becomes la filosofia. Sociology becomes la sociologia. Rule number 2. English nouns ending in IC or ICS become ICA in Italian. For example, music becomes la musica. Politics becomes la politica. Logic becomes la logica. Rule number 3. English nouns ending in TY become TA with an accent in Italian. For example, city becomes la città. Identity becomes l'identità. And university becomes l'università. These rules are pretty cool, right? Because you can start to understand and recognize Italian words instantly, even if you've never studied the language before. Now, these patterns give you a real sense of momentum, and when you're ready to dive in deeper, I'll show you how you can expand on this strategy in my A1 beginner course, where we start with the most useful stuff, not the textbook fluff. Coming up next, we're going to look at what grammar you actually need as a beginner and what to skip for now. Are you enjoying this lesson? Don't let the learning stop here. Make sure you download your free copy of my free 30-page ebook, which includes additional chapters. Just click on the link in the description below this video. Now let's move on to the 20% of grammar that you actually need to learn first. Now here's what most learners get wrong. They try to learn all the grammar at once, but the truth is only a handful of grammar concepts will carry you through your first conversations and help you start expressing yourself in real life situations. Now here's what you actually need in the beginning and nothing more. First, master the present tense, il presente. This is the tense you'll use 80% of the time, especially at an A1 and A2 level. With just the present tense, you can ask questions, talk about yourself in your daily life, make small talk, order food, and express opinions. Now this is your foundation, and once it clicks, the other tenses become way easier to learn. Next, learn the 10 most common verbs. The top 10 most used verbs in Italian will take you a long way in your conversations. These include the verbs essere, to be, avere, to have, fare, to do or to make, andare, to go, dire, to say, potere, can or be able to, volere, to want, dovere, must or have to, sapere, to know, as in a fact, and vedere, to see. So the first thing you want to do is learn how to conjugate all these verbs in the present tense, and you'll already be forming full sentences with ease. Now to learn more about how to conjugate verbs in Italian, watch my video lesson right here. Now the next step is to get familiar with nouns, articles, and adjectives. Yes, Italian nouns have gender, and yes, it takes time to get used to this concept. But start with the basics. Learn how to say a or the, which are un, una, and il and la, and so on. Understand how adjectives agree with nouns, and practice describing people and things. Now to learn more about how gender works in Italian, make sure you watch my video lesson right here. Now learning this is enough to get you moving. You don't need to worry about more advanced concepts like the subjunctive or the passato remoto just yet. Those can wait for much later. Now here's a fun little insight that really helped me when I was first learning Italian. Now one of the reasons Italian can sound so strange when translated literally into English is because it's incredibly formal and sometimes downright archaic. In fact, speaking Italian is kind of like speaking English from the 1700s. Now let me show you what I mean. Now in Italian, it's completely grammatically correct to say sono venuta. Literally, I am come. Now to an English speaker today, that sounds odd, right? But in 18th century English, back in Jane Austen's day, it was perfectly normal. Take this line from Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice.
Well, I'm glad you'll come back, Lizzie. I'm glad you'll come back, Jane.
I am glad you are come back, Lizzie. This is what Mr. Bennet, her father, says to her. He doesn't say, I'm glad you have come back. He says, I'm glad you are come. just like you would say in Italian, using the verb essere as the auxiliary verb. Now this comparison blew my mind when I discovered it watching that BBC series of Pride and Prejudice, but it made everything click into place, which is why I want to share it with you. Now because I learned Italian as an adult, I started drawing these parallels for myself, these connections that a native speaker wouldn't think to make, but which helped me bridge the gap to remember these complex grammar rules and structures much more easily. Now I share these kinds of insights throughout all my courses, so you don't just memorize things, you actually understand the concepts behind them. Now here are some more fun examples. In Italian, we don't say I am 40 years old, we say I have 40 years, ho 40 anni. In Italian, we don't say you look well, we say I find you well, ti trovo bene. In Italian, we don't say I went, we say I am gone, sono andato. In Italian, we don't say I'm hungry, we say I have famine, ho fame. In Italian, we don't say I like it, we say it is pleasing to me, mi piace. In Italian, we don't say can you tell me, we say pray, tell, prego, mi dica. It's all very Jane Austen. So as you can see, speaking Italian is like being a character from a Jane Austen novel. This is how we used to speak in English, but Italian still maintains this elegant structure if you ask me. Okay, moving on, vocabulary hacks for real life Italian. Now you don't need thousands of words in your arsenal to start speaking Italian. You just need the right ones. Instead of trying to memorize endless word lists, you can use these hacks to build a powerful, practical vocabulary that sticks and helps you speak right away. So the first thing to do is focus on high frequency words. Start with words you'll hear and use every day, like greetings, such as ciao, buongiorno, arrivederci. Food and drink, such as pane, acqua, vino, and pasta, ovviamente. Travel and directions, saying things like dove, sinistra, destra, stazione. People and places like amico, ragazza, casa, città. This is exactly what we focus on inside my A1 beginners course. Useful words that you'll actually use in real life conversations. The next thing to do is use those cognates that we learned before. Now remember those word patterns that we learned earlier? Here's how you can take it a step further. Learn new vocabulary in categories so your brain builds strong connections. Use your knowledge of English to guess the Italian word. It works more often than you think. Try this for me. Now take these words. What would their translations be in Italian? Democracy, economy, fantastic, opportunity. Now if you were to guess how to translate these words, what would they be? Pause this video and share your answers in the comments below. And if you want the answers, then make sure you download my free ebook, which I've shared a link to in the description below this video. Now to give you a little bit of a spoiler, the first one is democrazia. For the other two answers, make sure you download my ebook. Now can you see how powerful this is? You already know so much more than you thought that you did, which is a great place to start from. Moving on, now let's look at spaced repetition, using it the right way. Now regularly reviewing your notes and your spaced repetition apps such as Anki or Quizlet if you choose to use them. Now these tools are great, but only if you use them strategically. Now here's how. Only focus on words you actually want and need to use. Add example sentences too. Don't just add the word. And review daily, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Vocabulary isn't about memorizing, it's about internalizing what you've learned and also making them meaningful. Now that's why in my 30-day challenges, we cover a variety of tricky topics of Italian grammar in more detail. I teach everything in context, so you'll learn functional phrases naturally, not just the words. So if you struggle with Italian verbs, tenses, prepositions, pronouns, and colloquialisms, such as slang and idioms, you'll love the built-in spaced repetition that you'll find in my 30-day challenges. Okay, coming up next, how to train your ear to understand fast-spoken Italian and how to actually speak it, even if you're shy. Okay, here are some memory hacks and mnemonics that you can use to make Italian stick. So you've started learning new Italian words and grammar rules. Fantastic. But now you're probably wondering, how do I remember all of this? Well, that's where memory hacks or mnemonics come in. Now, you don't need a photographic memory. You just need to use your brain the way it was designed to work best, with associations, imagery, and a bit of creativity. Now, let's bust a myth first. I'm too old to learn a language. Well, that's false because I learned it as an adult. Let's pause for a second and address this elephant in the room, the belief that adults can't learn a language as easily as children. Now, this is one of the biggest myths out there, and it's flat out wrong. In fact, numerous studies show that adults can be just as good, if not better, than children at learning a second or third language, especially when it comes to grammar, vocabulary, and conscious learning strategies. Now, a 2018 study published in Cognition found that while improving and learning pronunciation can get harder with age, learning grammar and vocabulary remains strong well into your 60s and beyond. Now, other research from MIT shows that motivated adult learners with the right strategy can outperform younger learners, especially in structured environments. So no, you're not too old to learn Italian. You're just getting started, and with my help, I'll help you get there. Now let's look at how to lock Italian into your memory with memory hooks. Now that you're learning useful words and patterns, it's time to start remembering them for the long term. You're about to discover how to commit these Italian words, expressions, and grammar rules into your brain in a way that sticks. How? You create a memory hook. A memory hook, as I call it, is when you link a new word or a concept with something you already know. A sound, an image, a person, a funny story, anything that makes it yours and makes it personal. It doesn't need to make sense to anyone else, just you. So here's an example I used. Salve, which means hello, and it's a formal way to greet someone. Now, when I first learned this formal Italian greeting, salve, hello, I needed a way to remember it and not confuse it with ciao, which is more informal. So I created a memory hook. Now, the word salve reminded me of the word salutations, and that instantly brought into my mind the old-fashioned greeting, greetings and salutations, which is very Jane Austen, and it's also very formal and polite, just like salve is. And boom, that was it. I never forgot it. That was my memory hook to remember salve. Another example is lui and lei. Now, the Italian word for he is lui, and she is lei. Now, how was I going to remember this? Now, here's what I did. I just thought of King Louis and Princess Leia, and I just removed that A at the end. And then I had royalty helping me remember Italian pronouns. Now, here's a tip for creating your own mnemonics or memory hooks. Look for sounds. Does the Italian word sound similar to something that you're familiar with in English? Think visual. Can you picture a scene, a person, a cartoon, or a movie character? Also, make it weird. The stranger or funnier the association, the easier it is to remember. And also make it personal. Use people, memories, or things from your life, as these are more powerful than using random examples. And remember, creating memory hooks is a skill in itself, and it gets easier with more practice. Now you try. Let's practice this together. What's the Italian word for table? It's tavolo. Tavolo. Try this. Picture a giant dining table covered in your favorite tapas dishes. The waiter says voila and places the tapas on the table. The word tapas on the table can help trigger the word for tavolo. Now, it doesn't need to be a perfect match or even make sense. It just needs to be memorable to you. This example may not work, but it's just an example. Now, take your time with this. It's one of the most important steps in the learning process, because remembering is what turns knowledge into confidence. Next, we'll talk about how you can train your ear to understand fast-spoken Italian and how to actually speak when you feel nervous. Are you enjoying this lesson? Don't let the learning stop here. Make sure you download your free copy of my 30-page ebook, which includes additional chapters. Just click on the link in the description below this video. Now, what I've shared with you today are just the first 5 chapters of 10 chapters in my free ebook, How to Learn Italian So Fast That It Feels Like Cheating. Now, to get your copy of the full guide, just click on the link in the description box below this video. Are you ready to start your own journey to learning Italian with all that wasted effort? Now that you've seen how my 80-20 method works, which is the same approach thousands of my students are using to finally make progress, the next step is yours. Whether you're just getting started or picking Italian back up after years away, my Intrepid Italian courses are designed to guide you every step of the way. I offer a range of courses starting with beginner A1 all the way up to an upper intermediate B2. Now these work to build your foundation. They fast track you to fluency and finally help you understand how Italian grammar works. I also have a series of 30-day challenges that focus on the trickiest topics like I mentioned earlier, such as verbs, tenses, prepositions, pronouns, articles, gender, and more. You'll start to internalize these with the help of daily bite-sized lessons that will make the language actually stick. And I also have my Confident Conversations course. This is where we train your ear, test your comprehension, and get you ready for real-world, fast-spoken Italian. Now, all my courses are structured using my 80-20 method. So you spend 0 time on fluff, and you spend 80% of the time working on that top 20% of the language that you actually need at every step of your journey. And all of my courses come with my 30-day Celebrate with a Spritz guarantee. If you don't want to celebrate your newfound language skills after 30 days of using Intrepid Italian, you don't have to pay a cent. Just let me know and I'll refund you your purchase, no questions asked. Now I want you to love learning Italian and celebrate your success every step of the way. So your next step is simple. Decide what level you are, choose the course you want to start with, and let's learn Italian together. Now if you're not sure what your level is, you can watch my video lesson right here. But in the meantime, you'll find a list to all my courses in the description below. I look forward to welcoming you inside Intrepid Italian very soon. Un abbraccio. Ciao!